Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Plastic Hearts Podcast. My name's Fonze. I'm joined by indie game dev extraordinaire Gavin Jones. Gavin, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Talk about some video games.
Yeah.
Did you play anything over the weekend?
I did.
Which
There's a new game that just came out called Blazing Beaks. I think it just came out. It's like a roguelite where as you're going along, you can pick up these artifacts, and these artifacts give you debuffs.
Okay.
And so you're picking them up, and it's making the game harder to play and harder to play. And you see what they are before you pick them up, or what they do.
So you can choose to, I see.
Right. And eventually when you get to a shop, you can give them all to a crow, and the crow will spit back out relatively the same amount of items. It's usually plus or minus one.
Okay.
And they will now be buffs. So it's this fun little risk reward where you're trying to give yourself a hard time and then get.
But you get to cash them in for buffs.
Yeah, and that's it's really fun to play. Although I wish the graphics were a little less clear or had a little more contrast, because the enemies and the terrain all kind of blend in with the background and everything. So that can be a little bit frustrating. But yeah, it's really cool.
That's cool. You're really into these roguelike games. I feel like that's your shit. That's
my shit. That's my shit right there.
That's cool though. That's awesome.
They're fun. So, what about you?
I played a little bit of Ghost Recon, the old one, Wildlands, that came out maybe a year and a half ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
When they announced the sequel a couple of days ago, they put it on sale, Ubisoft. So I was like, oh, I'll dip in, and it's interesting. It's fun. You're just kind of running around and doing these these missions as whatever military. Paid military dudes to go out into whatever random country. I think they're in a fictional country, and they're just fucking up the drug cartel.
Bob Zimway.
Yeah, but the gameplay's cool.
I'm gonna put that in a game.
No, I'm sure you'll still insult someone or offend someone.
I'm pretty sure that
is it. It's a real country. I don't know. I if not, we'll found that country. Find, start. I feel like start is the lamest word for that, but. I'm rambling.
We'll make it a fun.
I need you to rein me in when I'm just going full idiot mode. Well, yeah, I didn't play much besides that. I don't know.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I just maybe like 2 or 3 hours. I haven't been playing a lot lately, but yeah, it was cool. It was dope. I'm really excited for the sequel. It just looks more interesting. They seem like the gameplay is just tighter and just more interesting. They're throwing in these robot kind of futuristic tech with the atmosphere of like this jungle, this fictional country again. So it's a cool like dichotomy to see that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Does the villain do it for you at all? The guy who's playing the villain.
Yeah, he's super over the top. They start the game with this intro of him kind of talking about. He's like a drug cartel version of Kingpin almost. He's like this uber tough dude, and but he's trying to create this country just based on violence and stuff. But I don't know. He seems like a sort of generic baddie. Maybe there's something there. I imagine you kill him in the game, so he's just kind of taken out. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it looks all right.
Yeah.
It's a weird use of that actor.
I'm not familiar with the actor that does that.
He's in The Walking Dead, and he also plays the Punisher on Netflix.
Oh, interesting. So I think I know what you're talking about. There's like a DLC with that guy.
I think he was in the last. Well, the last DLC was like a hint at this game.
Yeah.
And now he's just straight up the villain, which is a weird, I don't know, use of him.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So I see what you. Yeah, it's this guy.
It's a good 3D representation of him. I appreciate now that like you look at that face. That looks exactly like the faces in the Killzone 3 trailer or Killzone 2 trailer.
We finally come to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, we finally got there. A full generation later,
right.
But to be fair, I mean, you can totally do that. You could totally redo that trailer
with current
in-game. Yeah, exactly.
You
correctly.
Could. That would be badass for Guerrilla to actually just on a whim just release it. Maybe to kind of advertise the next Killzone. I'm sure they'll do another Killzone. Yeah. But to be like, hey, this is in-game. We're doing that actual footage. I remember that whole thing happening, and just the drama that unfolded from that being whether it was real, whether they could reach those goals. But if you remember when Killzone 2 came out, it wasn't that far off. Like it was pretty,
No, it was
close to as much as they could be.
I would say it was a different kind of gorgeous.
Mm.
It was super pretty. It didn't look like that trailer, but it was fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
And Killzone 3 looked even better.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think that franchise doesn't get that much credit. I've dipped into each of them, and they're not super duper fun, but there's something there. The last one on PS4 that it launched with was actually really dope too.
Yeah. Did you ever play the multiplayer though?
Not really. No.
The multiplayer in 2 and 3 was so good, and it was a really, really good mix of old school gameplay and new school gameplay, and the maps were just incredible. So I was just having a blast, just running around.
Nice.
And yeah, it was really fun multiplayer. That was my favorite part, honestly, which is not the part anyone talks about.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Really fun classes too.
Yeah, I didn't get to play enough with it. I think there was slight jetpack mechanics at one point, or just they kind of were playing with movement around in the I think by the third one, or maybe
definitely by the fourth one anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it'd be fun to revisit that fourth one on PS4.
Yeah,
and that one was gorgeous. I love that they kind of use that as their beautiful game to show off the power of the PS4 because it looked awesome.
That shit was pretty.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was pretty.
Well, let's talk about some stuff that happened.
About some vidges.
We have the Final Fantasy VII Remake. When I saw this, I thought this is right up your alley because I know you've played it or you're replaying it recently.
I'm playing it, yeah. Need to get back into playing it, yeah. But
and so it was gone for a while when the Sony initially announced this at PSX 2015. And so this was a legit kind of going over some new footage or new remade footage, right?
It's new. Yeah.
The trailer. What'd you think seeing that?
I thought it was. I'm glad. So something people were kind of upset about when the new one came out was the game's had so many setbacks. People were wondering is it still episodic?
Right.
And I guess this kind of confirmed that it's episodic because this is all before you leave the starting town, which for me was actually good because I'm not very far in the game, but everything in that trailer was something I'd seen.
Okay. So they're reimagining it somewhat, or just what do you mean by stuff you just haven't gotten to that point in the game?
No, it's all stuff that since I'm not that far, and this is clearly from the first episode, they didn't show anything further than where I've gotten to.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which is good for me. So I do have legitimately time to catch up on this sucker. I do worry about the tone. I know that was something people were concerned about because it got a lot darker after the movie Advent Children came out.
Okay.
Whereas the game is actually pretty goofy, silly. Cloud's very angsty and emo and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the game as a whole is pretty funny.
Okay. You thinking they're losing that, or they're still going with that idea in this remake?
Well, I heard they were doing a mix of the two, and a lot of fans. They let some fans come in and play it, and they said they were very happy with it.
Okay.
But I wonder if they kind of backpedaled, because that looks, from what I remember, like Advent Children Cloud.
Gotcha. Maybe they're pulling from visual styles, but tone wise they'll keep with something that's a balance. Yeah. But I do remember those. I didn't play any of the the original, but I do get that vibe right off the bat that it is this kind of more playful, less serious, and I get that they go that route afterwards, but I feel like for a remake they should still lean closer to that original vibe in 7.
You gotta have some of it. It is kind of funny. The thing I thought was neat though is there's a couple of throwaway characters in your party right at the start. I assume they're throwaways anyway. That had a lot of personality to them.
Okay.
But their models were stupid simple. So you kind of just in your head had to make up what they look like.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it was neat in this trailer getting a vision of what these people, and they still looked pretty generic.
Maybe they intentionally kept that.
But it was kind of just nice to have a face to the voice in my head, I guess,
gotcha.
when I'm reading their lines. So
that's cool. Are you playing on Switch? Because I know there was a 7 remake. Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's
which is nice.
Yeah, so they did focus on the fact that it is still episodic. What does it make you? How do you feel about them going forward? Do you think we're closer to, an episode 1 release, or are we still waiting for a while? Yeah. And then I imagine, how long until we, what's their timeline to release these, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I hope it's a relatively quick timeline, but it's a lot of stuff to remake. And like the complexity of those cities, back then it was maybe a little bit easier to make because
you could lean on the less detail.
Yeah.
Now you can't, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. I hope it's good.
I did pull up some details. So one thing I found interesting was, in May of 2017, it was revealed development on Final Fantasy VII Remake had moved from a third-party developer to in-house at Square Enix. So hopefully that's helping them kind of quickly, just get this out of the door quickly. Yeah. At least for the first episode, I think that would be good for the fans to finally get something they can play, because it was announced, PSX 2015. That's a while ago. Yeah. So Square Enix has their own E3 presentation. It's June 10th at 6 p.m., which I have some more details on E3, but E3 is really close. It's less than a month away, which is nuts to me. But yeah. So that was announced at PlayStation State of Play event. Now, we did get some more announcements. Release date for Medieval. There's a remake of the game Medieval.
That looked super old school.
Yeah.
That I never played it, but looking at it, that looks cool. Like just a prettier PlayStation 1 game.
Right. So that's October 25th is when that will come out. Yeah. Which is cool. I have no intention on playing it, but I like that they're doing that. It's like a fan service kind of thing. That's cool. Monster Hunter World is getting an expansion called Iceborne. That's coming out September 6, 2019, and a PC release this winter. And there was a trailer that showed off, which looked cool, just kind of a change. I don't know if it's a completely different part of the map or a change to the map. I'm not sure. But
it's probably a completely different map.
You might be right. Yeah, that makes
sense. I don't play Monster Hunter games.
No, I did. I didn't buy it. It's actually on Xbox's their Game Pass, so I downloaded it over the weekend. I just barely started playing that, but I do want to jump into that.
I would like to see if so there's sort of like a almost rival game to it on PC, because there was no. I feel like that's I forget what it's called.
Is it more of a cartoony looking?
Very cartoony. Yeah.
What you're talking about. I just read something on
that. And a lot of people really liked it, and I feel like it had even a start because Monster Hunter never came to PC, and so they were sort of the first Monster Hunter style game to come to PC.
Dauntless,
yes.
It's a free to play.
And that's right, it is free to play. And so, they were the first one in that scene for PC, and people liked it and played it, but it played very similar to Monster Hunter. And so then Monster Hunter World came out, which was the biggest, best version of Monster Hunter to ever come out. So it's like, how can you compete? So they changed their gameplay and made it a lot more arcadey.
Really?
And you watch it, and it's just fucking cool. Like, you're fighting this like big badass rainbow moth. Okay. And like all this over the top ridiculous stuff. Like, it's really cool, and the weapons are fun and very different than Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So I wonder if this is a new announcement as far as them going to free to play. But let's see.
Well, how old is that?
Yeah, so this is from 13th of May, which is today. So it's launching launching next week on the 21st of May on Xbox One, PS4, PC.
Nice.
I'll keep an eye on this. This looks really cool. I'm going to play that little trailer.
I would be curious to see where they go next with this game.
Yeah.
The enemies are just cool.
Really, I think they're far enough removed from the release of Monster Hunter that they can have their own time to shine and kind of get some of those fans over.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's hard. If you want to not spend money on it, you totally don't have to.
Yeah, it's just cosmetic stuff or, whatnot. Or
I don't think it's cosmetics. I think it just speeds up your progress a little bit. So you can legitimately buy loot boxes in it.
Gotcha.
I think.
So I'm just kind of scanning. Yeah, and they're mentioned in this article by Eurogamer, there's a Fortnite-style tiered battle pass system.
Right. Oh, okay. I mean, if I like that game, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Buying a battle pass. But yeah, I don't think it's cosmetics because all your gear matters.
Okay, gotcha.
So, which is kind of cool. And that was a cool part of Monster Hunter for sure is, all this stuff that you'd spend hours grinding away to build all the components for.
Yeah.
Now you look ridiculous wearing it, but now you have it and
Right.
means something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Destiny 2 had that issue where, you'd work so hard grinding, creating these armor sets, but you couldn't customize it the way you should be able to like actually want to hold on to it and keep it for the length of the game. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But so that was let's see.
Weird that Anthem did that factor better.
Interesting.
You got the piece, but you could repaint it.
Okay.
So you'd keep it uniform. But that being said, your character still looked unoriginal in Anthem.
Gotcha. I like the idea of them playing with that as far as developers go, letting you, if you do pick something that you like how your character looks, just keeping the power of that armor set and just adding that to different new armor that you find. So you still look the way you want, but you have the power that you'd find from whatever armor piece you have.
What was the game that did that?
Yeah,
there was legitimate. I mean, but that does come with the problem of you can't just look at someone and know that they're not to be trifled with.
Sure. Yeah, but if it's not PvP stuff, then it's like you can look however you want to look and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. Well, we went on that side note because of Monster Hunter, their little expansion. A couple things that were just announced on that same state of play was a Predator game. It's Predator Hunting Grounds. This is from Ilphonic, so it's the same dev that's made the Friday the 13th game. They co-developed it with Gun Media.
So this is going to be a buggy mess.
Yeah, potentially. There's just a trailer showing just like the concept kind of thing of it.
Yeah.
These guys in the jungle, and then you see Predator come out from his camo. I just love Predator, so I hope that they keep the bugs manageable, when this thing comes out. But it will be buggy for sure.
It'll be. I think that it can be cool. I mean, that was certainly a neat game.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and it had its fun little community. I thought it was interesting that Friday the 13th actually had a really big role-playing community.
Oh, really?
So people playing it would really get into character of
awesome.
Whoever they were playing.
Yeah.
And that was pretty darn neat. The faces were kind of weird and expressive.
They were. Yeah, I played a couple of matches.
Yeah, it was a cool looking game, and I think it had its own unique gameplay to separate it from like Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
Which is very similar, but yeah, buggy mess. I don't know if it ever really got.
Yeah, it was early access for a while, right? Before they actually fully. Yeah.
But
I think if you can manage those bugs, then it's fine to release it that way. And sometimes it adds.
Can they manage those bugs though?
Right.
We'll find out again.
Yeah. So as far as their Wikipedia page for Ilphonic, they have it listed as 2020. But yeah.
Oh wow.
Right.
Well, yeah, sure. That seems reasonable. Yeah, you throw. Yeah.
And also announced. So this wasn't during the E3 or the PlayStation State of Play. But over the week, they announced the John Wick game. So it's called John Wick Hex.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. So it's from, did you ever play this game called Volume or Thomas Was Alone? It's that developer. His name is Mike Bithell.
Oh, games. Right. What a weird thing to go from Thomas Was Alone to.
Which is like these little squares jumping around.
Yeah.
I've only seen footage of it.
Super emotional story.
Gotcha.
Told with squares.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And, it'll make you cry. And now you're making John Wick, the turn-based.
So there's a trailer, and they kind of break down you're playing as John Wick, but you're choosing your maneuvers that you'll do beforehand.
Yeah.
So you can then execute them just like he does in the movie, where he's like headshotting everybody, doing the jiu-jitsu and stuff. So it looks cool. I like the idea of them playing around with this, but and that's a cool like indie dev that they're letting tackle this now huge property.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was legit nervous when I heard that it was like the first article I saw on it was XCOM like game, and I'm like, please let there not be multiple characters. Let it just be you versus a giant horde of bad guys. And it seems like that's what it is. So I feel like you're really going to feel like John Wick. It's going to be about managing that crowd and being able to somehow survive that. So I hope they make it really kind of puzzly.
I think I imagine they would. You have some kind of stamina that you have the ability to spend on whatever baddies and how you decide to tackle them, and which is a really unique way to do this, because maybe the first thing you think of is let's just do a run and gun kind of shooting game, but I like that they're deciding to do something different.
Yeah, so I hope it's good. I hope it's hard. I feel like that would make it really good if you're really having to be John Wick to survive. And look at the amount of options they showed in there.
Yeah, so we have this breakdown. Yeah, you see, and it kind of slows down or stops time, and you just see all your options, and looks like the health of the enemies and, what you can actually do to them. And
so you can strike, push, take down.
But those close options are not available since you're away from them too at the same time.
So throw gun. Oh, so I wonder. That'd be an interesting thing to see. So getting in close. That kind of reminds me of a game called Madness Interactive back in the day, where I'm sure you can reload in this game, but in that game you couldn't. So part of the game was
like permadeath or just levels were.
No, you couldn't reload your weapon.
Oh, I see.
So part of it was you had to get the weapons away from the enemy. So you had to kill them before they A, killed you, or B, wasted all the ammo in their weapon.
Okay.
So, and then you could take that. But in the meantime, a lot of times, like, I'd throw a gun at the guy to disable him for a second, take his gun from him, and then shoot him with his own gun.
Sounds familiar, too.
It felt really badass. So if you can do cool stuff like you can, they probably will. If there's, like, a parry in here. Like,
I wonder. I mean, the system looks super deep, so I imagine they're planning for all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also reminds me of, is it Hot something?
Oh,
Not Hot Fuzz.
Super Hot.
Super Hot, where you kind of have to plan your maneuvers, and that, keeps time flowing as you move around, so you really have to be careful.
Extremely similar, especially with the whole throwing the gun, grabbing the gun from the enemy, all that crazy stuff. Yeah, extremely similar.
Nice. Which John Wick comes out this weekend. I'm so fucking stoked. I love.
Oh, the new one?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I keep refreshing. There's a site, the website for the movie theater in Tri-Cities. You can actually purchase your ticket and your seat rather.
Oh, okay.
So I want to do that. Me and Megan are ready for it, but they just they're waiting to upload or let you order that date in particular this Friday. So yeah, I'm just keep refreshing because I want to buy my ticket. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Which I just watched the first one again to get ready for it. So what a great.
Not the second one? No.
Yeah, no, I'll go through it again, but it just kind of to start it. And we watch those movies every couple of months anyways. But which that reminds me, I also rewatched Terminator 2. Did you ever watch Terminator 2?
It's a great film.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite action movie ever. I love it.
It's kind of a perfect action movie. Mm-hmm. It's interesting characters. Yep. Definitely having the fact that he was a bad guy in the first one and now he's a good guy.
What a
dealing
great
with
spin on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then you have maybe the best villain ever with the
God, it
1000 or whatever. Whew, the liquid metal guy.
He was so terrifying.
Yeah. He's terrifying. It's awesome. There's that scene too in Wayne's World. If you remember the first Wayne's World, they're parodying all kinds of pop culture stuff at that time. It's 96, 97. And they get pulled over by the T-1000 guy. He's in this cop suit, like the LA cop suit. And he pulls them over.
I can kind of remember that.
They see him, they freak out, and they drive away. But and they get the same actor, and he just kind of walks on set. Yeah, it's I love it. I love that movie. I watch it every couple of months.
When are we gonna give Mike Myers his chance to come back in the spotlight?
Yeah, I think he hosted SNL not that long ago, maybe a year or two ago. Yeah, I feel like it. Or he'll pop up in movies randomly, as little side. Characters, but yeah,
it's been long enough.
I feel like he's chosen to not be
could be probably not at the start.
Yeah, I wonder, but he was super funny. I want to see more of him, just like Adam Sandler too. He never really went away, but he hasn't had his triumphant kind of return to quality movies, he's
not really, no.
Although he hosted SNL last weekend. He did an awesome job.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was super funny.
Yep. It was really cool to see him, and then the opening monologue, just making fun of the fact that he was fired, and just singing about that.
Yeah,
it was great.
I was kind of mad that one of his funniest sketches was cut for time.
Oh, I didn't see that.
You can find it on YouTube, but it's that really lame character that what's his name with all the tattoos plays?
Yeah, it's like Chad or
Chad? Something like that. Yeah. So he dies for a second and he gets to meet his father in heaven, and his father is just as big of a dumbass.
Yep. They're just what's up? Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Is it big? Hi.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's fucking great. I still love watching SNL. I know it gets shit on a lot, and maybe rightfully so. Every week. Not all the skits are that great, but I still, for the past 5 years, 10 years, I'm still watching it and I still dig it. And I like watching on YouTube the next day. Usually the night of, they're instantly putting the videos online.
I feel like it's kind of out of it kind of ebbs and flows through kind of shitty periods. Sure. And it was definitely in a shitty period for a good long time. And it's sort of coming out of it. Weekend Update is fantastic. Yep. Kel is or Keenan or
is Michael? Well, Michael Che is the guy on the cast or on the update.
Yeah.
But there's the other dude, I forget his name. But then you're right. Keenan.
Yeah, Keenan is like
at been 20 years or however long.
It's got to be getting close.
He's the longest running castmate, I think, right now.
Is he?
Yeah,
I believe it. It is sort of weird though with the Weekend Update guys, because I remember it felt like the Weekend Update people usually did other sketches.
Yeah, you don't really see them in much other stuff. I think they're still writing for sure. Like I feel like it's always been the head writers. Like that one guy who's actually hosting his own late night show was an ex-writer. Oh God, he's a very well-known guy, but he has it's like a late night.
Oh, Jimmy Fallon?
No, so it's the one I think after that he has like the Late Late Show. He took over for Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson. You mean Craig Ferguson?
Craig Ferguson. There we go.
Oh,
I think
that
Craig
guy.
Robinson's
No,
another.
he was in sketches.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know his name though.
Seth Meyers. There we go.
Yeah, Seth Meyers.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I just feel like they maybe don't.
Craig
appear
Robinson. How dare you besmirch? There we go. Craig Ferguson, the greatest late night host to ever exist in the history of ever.
I missed his whole run. I know that he was on, and I just didn't really appreciate it.
It was.
But I actually listened to him on a podcast with Bobby Lee. Remember that guy we saw?
Oh yeah.
His podcast is hilarious, and they're friends, so they were talking on their show, and he's hilarious on the show. Like they roast each other up, back and forth. It's a really good podcast.
He's great. He can really give it. Well, I still always remember the time I watched his show. I was just like in high school or whatever, and like I'd flip it back and forth between him and Conan because they were both like the funniest guys in late night.
Yep.
And it's just like, all right, maybe one's on commercial, go to the other one. But the thing that converted me was there was one time where like it was when like Britney had shaved her head or something. And he went out and rather than doing, and you could tell he probably got in trouble for it afterwards, but rather than doing a funny monologue, he defended Britney for like 15, 20 minutes.
Interesting.
And like it brought me to fucking tears, and you can't find it on YouTube.
I imagine he was defending the fact that she's breaking down, like,
yeah,
in front of everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it was really cool to see him take it from that perspective. And it was incredible. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I just watch him now.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. So he was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I missed out on that. I do need if he comes up with, I know he's doing stand-up tours and stuff, so I'll try and keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he's funny.
Okay, so let's see. We have that John Wick Hex game. So what about a movie based on, that was a game based on a movie. What about a movie based on a popular video game? So that's my expert transition skills there, Gavin. So
X versus Sever?
Expert transition skills is what I said.
Oh, no, I was referring to the game X versus Sever, but I think that was a book first, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. Who was in that? It was like a sci-fi.
Lucy Liu, I think, was the only big shot in it.
Oh, wasn't what's his face, Vin Diesel in that?
Nope.
No. Okay, he's been in a lot of interesting movies. So so I was trying to transition into Detective Pikachu release over the weekend.
Oh, right.
And it sold fucking gangbusters. It did really well. Good. So it earned an estimated $58 million in its first weekend, earning it the #1 spot on the top 10 video game movie opening weekends of all time. So I have the list of the top opening video game movies of all time. So we have Detective Pikachu at #1 at $58 million. Wow. We have Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the first one, $47 million.
That movie was not good.
No, but it was cool at the time to see that visualized. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and she was like the perfect Lara Croft.
Yeah, I'm also not mad at what's her face there. She can play whatever she wants. Why can't I think of her name?
Angelina Jolie.
There we go. Yes. We have Lara Croft #2. We have the Angry Birds movie at $38 million.
Sure, kids are gonna watch it.
Yep. Rampage with The Rock at $35 million.
Well, now I'm upset. What the?
I watched that maybe a couple months ago. Megan was out of town, and I was like, I just want to watch a shitty movie, but actually it wasn't that bad. It was fine. It was just like a fair action movie. If you unplug every thing of logic in your brain and just watch it, it's fine. There's some CG and stuff. The CG was okay.
To be fair, and that's like a weird defense of that movie because it's like Rampage as a game is not really logical. No. Like they're human, but it would have been nice to see it have the same batshit crazy logic.
You go like over the top completely, right?
Yeah, where people are transforming into these things and then they can untransform, so just like a mega-sized Hulk.
Well, I think in the game, you have humans that are turning into these characters, right? That's what originally, if I remember back when it was announced, when they had The Rock in it, it's like, oh, he's just gonna, I don't know, he's just gonna play himself before transition and after transition, where they put some fur on him or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different storyline. But yeah, it's not that bad. I would just defend that it's not that bad. It's fair, fine. We got Pokemon the first movie, the animated one that came out in like 2001.
That was great. I loved it. For
$31 million, we got Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time at $30 million. I don't know anyone watched that movie. I know it came out.
I did.
Oh,
I want to say I liked it.
With Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
It had a fun plot line, and that's all I remember.
Gotcha. I know he was faking like a British accent or some kind of accent, and it was not received well or something.
He was sort of a weird choice for the role.
Yeah. We have Resident Evil Afterlife at $26 million. Yeah.
I'd love to know which number in the Resident Evil series that was.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think that one is not the end.
Right.
So we have, and it comes up again on this list. We have Warcraft at $24 million, which that one I feel like they spent $200 million on. But,
probably, yeah.
But that one was number 8. Resident Evil Extinction at $23 million, and then Tomb Raider, which was the last reboot that came out maybe 2 years ago, at $23 million.
Was that one good? I never saw it.
I think people said it was fair, fine. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't negatively received, but it was just kind of came and went. But yeah,
it's kind of too bad that the original Resident Evil movie wasn't on there, because I think we were talking about that the other day, like how good
it's awesome.
Like Mortal Kombat was like the only good video game movie, and to be fair, it was for a long time. But probably almost 10 years later, when that first Resident Evil movie came out, that was great.
Yeah, and
that was the Resident Evil plotline. It took advantage of a game with an actual good plot.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I love that first one, and then they just went right into the ground with that immediately.
Mortal Kombat or
no, Resident Evil.
Oh, gotcha. Did you ever see the second Mortal Kombat movie?
I think we rented it when we were kids. Yeah, and it was
right
just a lot going on. Yeah,
it was too much going on.
Yeah, they tried to put so many characters in, it was just bad, and I don't remember a whole lot. I remember the reptile was in it, and then also one of the robots. And I thought at the time it was cool to see one of the robots in it. It was like Cyrex or something. It was a yellow robot.
I don't think Cyrax was in it. I think it was Smoke.
Was it okay? Was it red? I feel like it was a red.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I want to say it was Smoke was the robot, but maybe it was. Oh, you know what? I think Cyrax. I think one of them fought Jax at one point.
Yeah. Okay. And wasn't it rated R? And when the first one was PG-13, but it still was terrible. I feel like they made a change.
First one was definitely PG-13. Yeah. It could have been R. I don't know.
It's been a while. I have no desire to rewatch it either. But
no.
Yeah. So yeah, we had some. I mean, right out of the gate, the best opening weekend for video game movie is pretty awesome. Do you have any intention on seeing it?
I will. The reviews haven't been like super great for it, but I think I'd still watch it. I think I'd enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I want to see it. Let's see. So that's just some video game movie news. We got some more game announcements that happened last week. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, as I was talking about, Wildlands, playing that for the first time. Breakpoint is a sequel that was announced last week. We got so it's coming out October 4th, 2019. I'm a really big fan of these game devs, publishers not announcing it until it's pretty much ready to go. Like very soon down the line. I like that. I imagine that they do that when they're set on the date, but who knows? I do like that it's like less of a wait before they announce it. But yeah, it was announced. One thing that was interesting about that. So we have Ubisoft has said that Ghost Recon Breakpoint will not be available on Steam when it launches in October. Instead, it will be available only on Ubisoft's own Uplay client and the Epic Games Store. So another game on the side of going to Epic Games. They're going hardcore on these exclusives.
That one kind of surprises me. I mean, it's like a shitty version of an exclusive, because it's like, well, you could get it on the Uplay store. Well, I'd be curious with that if with the Uplay store, or at least I know with a couple of Uplay games I've had, or maybe I'm thinking of EA games where you buy it on Steam and then it launches the Uplay launcher, or maybe it was the EA launcher, and then launches the game from there.
I think you're right, because I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey also at the weekend. I forgot in little bits, and you load the game, and like as far as the marketplace goes, it's in the game and it's within their Uplay thing. So it's like you go through their marketplace to download DLC and whatnot. So they might have always this kind of thing running that's their proprietary, Uplay thing.
Yeah.
But I know that lets you like save states across and kind of link your account to other things. So I wonder, if there's what the benefit to that is. But
I mean, I wonder if that's the way it's going to be with the Epic launcher as well. If it's going to launch it from the Epic.
I wouldn't
launcher.
doubt it. Yeah. But that's another exclusive going to Epic. So we got Apex Legends Season 2 was also just kind of not announced, but they were talking about how it's going to be revealed in detail at E3, at EA's. They have their own E3 event. It's June 7th. It's actually right before E3, but they'll go and talk about the properties and stuff. But yeah.
I think more importantly with Apex Legends is how they announced their plan to ban me today.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
So they announced. So first they got rid of like, what was it, like 750,000
I feel like I've
hacker
heard
accounts
stuff
like a week ago.
Or
or
people
something like that.
piggybacking. I'm not sure what that.
Yeah,
is.
that's what it was. It was piggybacking. So it's just like people who they're kind of there for the whole game, but they don't really contribute. Which I gotta say, I am trying so hard. I'm just bad.
So it's not like you just left your controller there. You're actually playing, and they still decide that you're not helping, or
yeah, I don't know how they're going to determine it, but I looked down in the comment section too, and there were other people like me that were just like, look, the game, like, I mean, the problem with this now is like the matchmaking, I mean, it throws you just in with some kick-ass people.
I see.
So if I'm
just by default, you're not going to be on the same scale. Yeah.
Right. Like I only win, which I won a fair amount of times because I was paired with really fucking good people, and I'm not picking them. They're picked with me. Right. So, I'm clearly a burden the entire game. I am piggybacking. They're picking me up on their shoulders and carrying me through that goddamn game.
You're a baby that they're bringing along.
I think the funniest time though I had was where one guy on our team left immediately. And this other guy was like giving me thorough instructions the entire time. And he helped us almost win it, which really sucked when it came down to me against like two guys. I'm like, well, this is clearly not fucking happening. But and he even took out one of them for me.
Wow.
But it was like, he was just like, stop moving. Your character is too loud. Mine is quieter when he crouch walks. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to check this out. Like he'd set up portals and shit. And like he was running us around that map and telling me when to jump and how high, and like he kept me alive.
Wow, interesting.
So
I find it interesting that they would implement that when, and not hear as much controversy. Like, that's upsetting to hear that just by default you can be thrown in with these experts, and because you're not their level, you're then banned like permanently. How does that work? Or just kicked out of the?
I don't know. I mean, I could certainly see it from the good player's perspective of
but
this fucking guy, but just fix your match. Match us better. I'm weird. Not trying to do this.
I assume when I read that headline that it was really like intentional people that were somehow taking advantage of other players.
And I'm sure there are.
Doesn't sound like that. Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, they're definitely. I mean, from what people were saying, it's just like really you get rewarded just for playing.
Gotcha.
So you can walk, and maybe there are people that just like join the game, walk out into an enemy, get shot in the face, but like
reap the rewards from that.
Yeah, but really, how do you double check this?
Right. To make sure regular gamers aren't getting thrown in, and that's interesting. But so have they flat out banned you, or they're just like it's a warning ban?
I haven't played that game in months.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I feel like seeing all the hackers leave, I was just like, well, how many they caught anyway? I'm like, well, maybe I could come back. And then it's like, oh, by the way, you're terrible ass. But
and maybe they'll adjust that. It seems like they're vocal with their community and willing to kind of adjust stuff.
Or why not group the people that are doing this together?
There you go. So no one does anything. They just kind of all sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it kind of ending up being like, did you ever watch the episode of South Park where the kids are playing baseball, Little League, and they're trying to lose as hard as they can?
No.
But the other teams were like, next gen better, like they'd throw the ball, like even though they'd have the bat back here, it'd bounce off the bat and like into the field, and they just wouldn't catch it.
Oh, I see.
So people be doing that where it's just like a full server of like people doing jack shit.
Yeah.
But really that should be the technique then. Pile these people together.
Right.
Better matchmaking. It sucked. Well, actually that'd be great for me. Then I'd just be in a server of a bunch of people that are either not trying or trying really hard but terrible.
Yeah. Either way you're just
fixes itself.
Interesting. Well, yeah, we had that with Apex, and so they also took a stance on slowing down as far as the content that gets released. So season 2 is coming out, but they're not going to be as active. They're trying to rein in, the idea of crunch and control, the stress on the team with their updates.
Did they say what they're doing with season 2 then, or is that announcement pending?
So there's some details on season 2. So, and I'll read the official message. So this is from executive producer Drew McCoy. He lines out how major Apex Legends updates will roll out in the future. McCoy says we'll have to wait until EA Play, EA's E3 adjacent event on June 7th to learn specifics about season 2. But he says you can expect a new battle pass, a new legend, something new for the meta, and more for every season. In addition,
a new legend?
It says a new legend, yeah. Is it now legends are the characters? That's I have no idea what's going on in this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how long is a season? Is it?
I'm not sure.
Is it like Fortnite where there's like 8 seasons in a year, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. He goes on, we know that in addition to addressing issues with the game, everyone is hungry for us to add new content. The studio culture that we've worked hard to cultivate and the health of our team are very important. We take those things into account when we discuss our content roadmap, the production schedule, and the frequency in which we can update our game. Our long-term goal is to ensure Apex Legends always feels alive and thriving with a focus on quality of content over novelty or speed of release. He just kind of maybe is reining in expectations on how often they're going to update it.
Right.
That brings into question how long are these seasons? How long before we see any changes? But
can we not hire more people?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It must not be an easy thing to handle where you can just throw people at it. So otherwise they would do that, right? So I wonder.
Maybe.
Interesting. Although that brings us to our next dedicated segment, it seems like. I'm going to call it Crunch Time, where we talk about crunch in the news as far as video game development. The stance that Respawn had with Apex and slowing down their kind of the releases of updates with Apex is the same stance that the Wolfenstein dev has Machine Games. So they announced recently over an AMA over the weekend. So this is Machine Games senior producer John Jennings. He has said, crunch is a difficult topic. Finding what's fun in games is so hard to schedule and plan for. The labor laws in Sweden are very prescriptive about what's legal, but crunch is also something that we're actively working at eliminating from our studio. And I say that genuinely rather than some trite PR answer. He didn't go into specifics about the steps the studio has taken to avoid crunch or how successful the effort has been. But and this stance mirrors, Respawn's their kind of stance on crunch and trying to eliminate it as far as just how often they're updating and whatnot. But I like to hear this more with studios. But I like his thing at the end because that could be just a nice spin to stay active in the news cycle, saying that you're trying to figure out how crunch is, on wearing out your team, but are they actually doing that? But I feel like that team gets to do kind of what they want to do. Yeah. So I would trust them to follow that.
It's kind of nice. I take it from them because they're not in the spotlight right now. So they really don't have to say jack shit. Right. And they did. And so I could see if I was a developer, I might be like, if I'm looking for a job, I might be like, yep, maybe them.
Yeah. They're saying, hey, come here. You won't hate your life, working with us. You get to work in Sweden too. I imagine it's beautiful in Sweden.
Oh, God, yeah.
All right. As far as still on the topic of crunch, we have last week with the release of Mortal Kombat 11, NetherRealm also had to deal with ex-employees and current employees talking about crunch and toxic atmosphere working there. So they finally responded in an official response. This is from Variety. They have kind of a lengthy response, but I'll just kind of cut some of the stuff out.
Well, they had a lot to respond to.
Yeah, and there's no easy answer for it. So the studio says they greatly appreciate and respect all of our employees and prioritize creating a positive work experience. As an equal opportunity employer, we encourage diversity and constantly take steps to reduce crunch time for our employees. We are actively looking into all allegations as we take these matters very seriously and are always working to improve our company environment. There are confidential ways for employees to raise any concerns or issues. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
It's kind of a somewhat canned response, but I imagine they want to tread lightly and as far as legal, just dealing with the legal issues of responding in a way that doesn't admit guilt to anything before they actually research it on their own.
Yeah.
I feel like they have to pick what they say very carefully.
I mean, it sounds like they word it as though they took this seriously.
Right.
But you don't get that company culture by taking this seriously.
Right.
So they weren't taking it seriously, and now they have to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they got that way for a reason. They were affecting these people for a reason.
yeah.
But so this, I'm going to jump off of this subject into something similar. But Kotaku ran an article last week. So this was about interviewing an ex or a current employee at NetherRealm. And so he's claiming that this employee rather is claiming that they are suffering PTSD after working on MK11, as far as dealing with the extreme violent content and constantly working on it, which I wanted to kind of get your take on it. It's a very interesting subject because, I mean, when you look at MK11, it's crazy, horrifyingly graphic, and violent, which, we have fun with, and it's awesome. But at the same time, and they go into detail in the article, these people are working on these animations that are, crazy, detailed, horrific, but they're making them. So they're working on these animations for weeks, for months, and tweaking them. And then the research, this employee goes into detail on the research. They're just looking at, really sensitive images, and they're just engrossed in it, and so that's got to wear on you. But apparently there's no faculties in place within NetherRealm to deal with the mental, side effects of dealing with a game like that.
Yeah. That's certainly an interesting one, and I've seen a few articles. I've never read them, but on Gama Sutra, a fair amount of articles pop up about the effect of working on super violent video games on the creators.
Right.
And part of it is we just don't know enough. Like, we've only been able to make these things this way for so long.
And this article goes into detail on the fact that now they're so photorealistic. But before you could lean on, it's more pixelated and cartoony, but now it's very, realistic. So it really looks like these scenes are happening in real life. So
and what are you having to use for reference footage as you're making these?
Right,
like,
you have to look at actual depictions of violence, right? So that's what this employee talks about. So this is a quote: "You'd walk around the office, and one guy would be watching hangings on YouTube. Another guy would be looking at pictures of murder victims. Someone else would be watching a video of a cow being slaughtered," stuff like that. And it's not as easy. And he kind of talks about it. This person talks about it. They knew what they were getting, what they were signing on to. Yeah, obviously, if you work in NetherRealm and work on Mortal Kombat, you're going to see a lot of violent imagery and stuff. Yeah. But their complaint was there isn't a balance to that. There isn't a way for them to seek help and take time off when they're getting burned out looking at these images and developing this stuff. There wasn't anything in place for them to to cut away from and then come back.
I can totally see that.
But I imagine that's kind of shocking to me, because you imagine as a developer making something that graphic, you want to have a way for your employees to to reset their brain, like at least have cute puppy videos playing in the background or some kind of balance. Like there's nothing like that. Which I always thought with not really the same thing, but with the developers over at Naughty Dog with working on Last of Us. Last of Us is such a depressing game. Like, you think, when that game goes gold, do you take everyone out to Disneyland? Like, how do you balance dealing with that for years, for making the most depressing stuff for years?
Which Uncharted?
So not Uncharted, but The Last of Us is what I meant.
Oh, The Last of Us.
So that team does Uncharted, does The Last of Us. They flip-flop back on.
I mean, I think that has to be different, because you watch people go perform a play, right? It's super depressing, and they're not going to walk out of that being just like super depressed afterwards. There's sort of a end scene.
Yeah, that's fair.
So watching that reference footage of that stuff all the time could be well. And I've dealt with this very, very little. Like, I was working on a game called Carly the Chainsaw, which my games are always like bloody, but they're never like.
I feel like there's a cartoony balance to it, right? To balance.
Yeah, and this one I was trying to make it intentionally, very like. The violence was more to it, so you'd be splitting people in half in the way that it would goo and stretch, and like even though that was very, very simple, and not even close to what these guys are going through, it was still kind of upsetting to work on. So seeing what they're doing on a whole nother magnitude, and I think the other important thing about it is it's not just in the violence of what they're seeing, but it's also the violence of the animation, because this is like what they're doing in these animations is some of the most violent stuff they've done yet. It's painful to watch, and they've gotten better and better over these years. It's not just the gore, it's the actual violent acts that they've gotten so much better at creating these terrible things that
characters reacting to that, and then in a realistic fashion where they're screaming or yelling, or you have to then make that too. Yikes.
So that's a tough one.
Yep.
And I don't know what the answer is for sure.
Yeah, and it was interesting. So some of the comments, and expectedly, in the comment section, they were like, "Oh well, just like man up, don't develop for this game." Like, just kind of. There are a lot of responses like that. Like, what did you expect, kind of thing. It's Mortal Kombat, which I get. Like, maybe this at the end of the day, this just isn't for this employee. This just isn't the kind of field they should be in.
Oh, for sure, but it's still tough,
right?
Regardless of
But this game has been made by humans, so NetherRealm needs to kind of balance the horrible, visuals they're seeing with something else, and give them appropriate breaks and that kind of thing. I guess it all ties back to crunch or burning out and that kind of thing, where if you're not viewed as a human, you can kind of you're expendable, and they just throw you to work on this animation, whatever part of it. Yeah, and it's just they're not caring about your well-being. Yeah. Which I imagine that part's tough too, because you have these teams are huge, a lot of people to manage. You have deadlines. There's a budget. There's a publisher on your ass, so it's not easy. But there's got to be something done. Wow. Which one of the stories I have, I guess is a better segue into that, is there's this documentary that was released over the weekend, or I think on Friday, but it was on the development of the last God of War. So it was a Sony
feature-length film.
Have you watched it?
No, I need to.
It's very good. Oh man. So I started it on was it last night or the night before at like 11, and I couldn't sleep. I watched the whole thing. But they go into as much detail as a Sony approved documentary can. They go into very big detail on the development, where they're talking about them, reaching these deadlines, not being ready, and just issues with, are they making the right move on Kratos, and changing the formula, and having playtesters react to it. And it was really, really interesting to see that kind of that detail. But I highly recommend everyone watch it. So it's called Raising Kratos. I pulled up some interesting notes from it. So there was a game that Sony Santa Monica was working on before they decided to shelve it and work on the God of War reboot. Huh. So this was called Internal 7, as far as that was a working name for it. But it was like a sci-fi futuristic game that they were working on.
Is it a remake of Killer 7?
No, it's not. It's more like they in the documentary they show images and stuff, concept for it. It's more like an alien xenomorph kind of world. Like they're creating something that's more sci-fi, more Dead Space kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But so they decided to kill that, work on God of War.
It's too bad.
Yeah, so it was interesting. They were working on Internal 7 pre-production for close to 36 months. So imagine working on the game for that long, and then going, higher ups, whatever, going, hey, we actually can't make this game. We're going to change gears and work on something else. Huh. It's pretty crazy. So another thing that was a good little excerpt from the documentary. So the first pitch Cody Barlog, the game director, gave involved Kratos walking through the desert, because at that time, the game was going to be set in Egypt. Which there's slight nods to it in that game in the release, but that could have been cool, a really cool setting. But they decided to go with the Norse mythology. So here's something that was this is brutal too in the documentary. So God of War was first playable in an early build in 2015. President of Sony SIE Worldwide Studios, Shuhei Yoshida, he visited the team in March 2015, and according to director Cody Barlog, he was horrified about how bad it was. Oh, wow. So, and so they talk about it, and that was another refreshing thing, too. He visited the team, played it, and he was, like, visibly angry, and they had a whole set of meetings because it was not on track, and so to have the head of Sony play it. And then
well, it took him forever to get the axe right. I remember that was one of the biggest things. Like, that was years and years to get that one.
That's a crazy new, mechanic that they're just, and if it doesn't work, man, the whole game doesn't work.
Yeah.
One thing that was crazy, revealing, and I think that this is at this level too with AAA studios. I imagine this is the norm, how they're kind of working on something and at the very end kind of get it right. Yeah. But so the demo, so with the documentary, I'll back up. With the documentary, they follow them from the early beginning stages all the way up until release. And so they're with them for like 3-4 years.
Holy cow.
Tons of footage throughout the years. So the E3 reveal demo that they played at E3 2016, they had Cody Barlog. He was off screen playing. It was a live demo.
Oh wow.
But so it's a 10-minute demo where they show the new Kratos for the first time. You're playing with the sun and going through the world. So that 10-minute demo took them 1.5 years to create, to get it all working, bugless, that kind of thing.
Oh wow.
So after that, they talk about it in the documentary. So once they finished it and they were on such a high, it was well received. They go back to work, and it's like, okay, we have another 1.5 years to make the rest of the game. They had worked on that for 1.5 years. So they had 1.5 years to basically make 30 more hours of content and like flesh out the game.
Yeah.
Which is nuts to me that they were like, they worked so hard on that. It's like, okay, now we have to make this game.
Right.
We have 1.5 years. It was insane. And they go through a pushback of the release date too, and they talk about how actually really hard it was to get that passed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really, really great documentary. It's awesome, man. They just go through the highs and the lows and how brutal they are, and like the sacrifices of the team. And like they let go part of the team at one point right before they started, just through whatever issues with the company. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
Huh.
I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, to watch.
And there's nothing spoilery too. I know you like a psycho, you'll watch the end of a game for some reason, but there's nothing spoilery in the documentary, so you can watch it and still play the game. But yeah, definitely check that out. So we got that. We got Detective Pikachu. We got some Crunch.
I did watch a thing. I think it was on Vice or something the other day where he kind of one of the creators on the game sort of analyzes the scene where he gets the Blades of Chaos.
Oh, I think that is I feel like I've watched that.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see how budgetary reasons made that scene.
Yeah.
Like it really toned it down, and that just made it that much more beautiful because of that.
So when he's talking about like with Kratos in the boat going through and eventually getting those blades, but like how they had planned for all these enemies off screen or you know on screen, but they're like they had to deal with the fact that budget wise they couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I love that thing too. Yeah, just little insights on and just some honesty on the fact that you know these things are hard to make and there's money involved and there's time involved and sometimes you don't get to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which you got to play it. I will definitely let you borrow my PS4.
Gotcha.
The downside is I just realized because I pre-downloaded today Rage 2, which comes out tomorrow or tonight, and it's on PS4 though. I was like, I was gonna give Gavin my PS3.
I'll play it.
Okay, but once I play that next year, you'll definitely get my PS4.
I'm going to be curious about Rage 2. The reviews have been sort of mixed.
That brings me into Rage 2. So that comes out tomorrow. I'm actually super duper on board. But let's pull up the Metacritic. So I feel like they're mixed. Yeah, for sure. Is a fair statement.
It's right at like 2 points above Days Gone.
Damn.
Which is insane.
Okay.
But I read IGN's review, or not IGN, Destructoid's review of it, and they thought it was great. I thought it was solid 8. 8's a great number.
It's interesting. I wonder if what people are expecting out of it, that also plays into expectations, right? So if you're expecting, some of the criticism is the story doesn't last very long or the replayability isn't there.
Sure.
There's criticism on the campaign being like 10 hours long. I don't know if I'm just a different type of gamer, right? So I'm older. I'm fine with a tight 10-hour experience. I get in. It's, you know, I know what I'm in for. I like that, and I'm fine spending $60 on that. I actually prefer that, so I can kind of play it and get out. I don't know. It's just kind of different strokes, right? Like you have Red Dead 2 came out, and it's 100 hours. Like, and then there's the after scenes that you play after that.
Yeah.
It's great, but at the same time, it's like I would have liked a short experience just so I don't have to spend so much time playing it. It's a weird criticism to say there's too much. But there is a balance to that.
It's unfortunately it's one of those expected things of an open world game, though.
Yeah,
and they're claiming it. I mean, the trailers made it look like it had a shit ton of content, and there's all this stuff you can do. And you compare that to I don't know how long the Just Cause games were.
There was a lot of sandbox kind of replayability with Just Cause, but I only beat the third one, and that was really fun. But it was maybe about 15 hours.
Yeah.
But it was in a world where I liked staying there and messing with the physics and that kind of thing. I don't know if Rage 2 has that, but yeah.
One thing I heard, and I look at it as a compliment, is you can. They were talking about how they were just dicking around doing, all on the side, just playing around, taking over forts and doing stuff, and then they got to a mission where their mission was to like take over a fort or do something, and they'd already done it. And so it just auto-completed for that. And I like it when games let you accidentally beat missions. Like, that's totally fine by me. Don't stop me from... And when you do that happens all the time in Fallout.
Yes.
It feels so good.
Where you have the item that you need to go search for, and you actually, like, you just give it to them after talking to them.
I need you to kill my brother. He lives at, that gas station down there.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that's not on fire, right? Okay.
Yeah, you just spin around and talk to him again, and they go, oh, you did it, great.
I'd love it if they made you do a 360 before you get...
I want a game where it's just that interaction every time. Like, I want you to go do this thing, and then but you've already done it. And they go, cool, here's this. Like, just every interaction is you've already done it.
It'd be interesting to see if, like, by doing something early, you don't get, like, a cutscene.
Okay.
So you don't have the guy being like, oh, you're here. Oh, who's that you? It's my brother.
Yeah, he just goes,
shut up. And then you go there and you just kill him, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hopeful for Rage 2. I think I'm expecting exactly what I'm going to get out of it. It's just run and gun. You have the bones of Doom, the last Doom that came out, the gun mechanics in that, plastered somehow on the last... oh God, you just mentioned the name of it, but the last open world game with Just
Far
Cause.
Cry?
With Just Cause. It's those two developers. They're somehow working their stuff together, where you have the open world of Just Cause and you have the gunplay of Doom, and it runs the way it runs. That's just a feat on its own to me, but I'm totally on board with that. That's what I want.
Yeah, glad it's not as bad as the last Rage though.
Yeah, that one was interesting. I think I rented it at some point. That was back in like the 360 PS3. It wasn't for me. It was very limited in what you could do, where you could go, controlled, environments. But
the shooting was fun. I enjoyed shooting things.
I don't remember enough to really.
Yeah, it didn't really let you shoot things enough though.
Gotcha.
Which is too bad.
Yeah, it was kind of controlled places where there's the shooting part, this is the driving part, right, and there's the open world or like hub world part.
And there was a lot of driving parts. It had great facial animations. I remember those.
It seemed like the tech was awesome.
Yeah. Except for mega textures, that annoyed the shit out of me. That was his big thing that what's his name was pushing was mega textures, and I thought it just fucked up the loaded. So like it
was like scalable textures or something, or
it was some sort of thing that allowed you to have really high detailed textures. Of course, we do that. We don't do that anyway via mega textures. We do them through like micro textures, which allows you to get a lot more details out of things. But it was his big tech push, but I think that's what caused this weird effect. And it even happened in like my high-end PC at the time where I'd flip 180 and then all the big textures on the background I had to get high detail. And it's just like, it drove me nuts.
There's always a delay where you would look and then it would have to pop in.
It's just like, just hold on to, like, just load them all in. I don't care. I'm tired of this bullshit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll see. It comes out tonight. I can play it at 10 p.m.
Hope it's good.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I had some other stuff here, Gavin. So I pulled up just some details on E3. As we get closer, we'll talk more and more. And then I want to get some predictions on it from you, and we'll kind of go into detail. But so we have E3 starting June 9th, technically. So we have Sundays when a lot of them are popping off. So we have Microsoft at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then we have Bethesda at 5:30. We have Devolver, which that last year was the first time for me watching the Devolver.
Oh, have you not seen the Devolver Digital shit show before?
That was the last time last year, and it was awesome. And so I'm super on board now for and they seem to be getting a lot into and publishing a lot of titles.
Yeah, they're doing really good. The only thing I will say, like, I have a lot of friends that really enjoy their show. If you're not into, and I'm glad they do it because that's their way of doing it. But if you're not into that sort of Adult Swim style of random humor, it's just fucking irritating.
Sure.
Just like,
because you never know whether they're joking or not. But the whole thing is like you could tell when they're it's like an anti-E3.
And if you ever meet those guys, that's totally them. That's totally their style of humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's not your thing, it's just not your thing. It drives you nuts because their games are so good.
And it's almost like they're making it so people accidentally view it and go, oh, I'm going to see this E3 conference. And like, what the hell is going on? Like someone gets murdered on stage.
Yeah. I'm sure they're going to revive the guy that died last year or the gal that died. People have died and they keep bringing him back.
Yeah. I like the story arc between these E3 conferences.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, we have that and Sunday. And Bethesda is interesting because I wonder what they're going to talk about for theirs. But we'll go into more predictions. But anyways,
Bethesda, we're sorry. We're so sorry.
I guess they gain more goodwill by just talking about other games that they shouldn't really be talking about yet, but like the next, Elder Scrolls and
I mean, they can't have anything to show with Elder Scrolls.
No, and I think they've said too that don't expect Elder Scrolls or the Star one, the space one that they're working on too.
That one makes me kind of salty though. Why announce it last year then?
I don't know. I really don't.
It's like, I mean, they've been saying for years like this is a super big high tech thing that can't be. Fuck's sake.
They now have the tech to do it. Yeah, I'm not sure. But so we have Monday, June 10th is I never watched the PC gaming show, but that's at 10 a.m. on Monday.
It tends to be where you get like really cool like random announcements. Like I think I want to say that's where the new Metro was announced at Microsoft. But yeah, you'll see a lot of cool stuff that otherwise, a lot of good indie stuff, but a lot of stuff that otherwise wouldn't get a spotlight, and there's no real reason.
Interesting.
So,
okay. So we have Ubisoft that same Monday at 1. We got Square Enix at 6 p.m. Rounding out that. So they took the old PlayStation time slot. And then Tuesday, June 11th, we have Nintendo doing their own thing at 9 p.m. Their separate broadcast thing, and then we got EA Play. It's actually June 7th for EA Play, so they're kind of really removed from the whole E3 thing.
Yeah,
but
that is random.
Yeah,
I do wish Ubisoft would bring back what's her name?
Who
plays Lana on Archer?
Oh crap, I forget her name.
Because I remember it was like the internet hated her for like the first year, and then the second year, like, all right, she's all right, and then like. Towards the end, she was really like, we were ready for a cringy Ubisoft presentation, and she was going to bring the cringe in a fun way.
What's her character on Archer again?
Lana.
We're going to find this out right now. Her name is Aisha Tyler.
Yeah, Aisha Tyler.
Yep.
She
does a lot of game stuff. I feel like she ends up hosting a lot of kind of game-related stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, she was fun.
Yep.
I miss her being there.
Gotcha.
She was going to do some weird audience interaction. It's just like, why? but yes, continue.
Yeah. So. As far as the news and stuff that's been happening, that's all I have. Here's a little tidbit we can kind of go into. So this is Anthem's struggles at launch is reshaping how EA handles future games. So EA had a investor meeting or whatever you want to call it, where they do kind of lay out the future, and the CEO Andrew Wilson goes into detail about how they learned from that release, and they expect to kind of wind things back and play them through or test them thoroughly and trying to give their developers a bit more time to kind of flesh things out.
Yeah, but
that's good to hear that they're resetting somewhat and learning from that horrible launch of Anthem.
Yeah,
but
I'll be curious to see if they actually do.
Right.
Because if they don't, and this same article comes out again, they're going to get fucking skewered.
Yeah. They're kind of losing the good graces of, fans by really botching these releases. So,
well, it's sort of this, it's this weird ebb and flow that's always been with Ubisoft and EA, where it's like, who's the most hated of the two at any point in time. And it really bounces back and forth. So. Right.
Yep. And they have their own E3 conference, so we'll see what they talk about as well.
It's gonna be interesting. I bet they mention it. I bet they bring it up. I bet the controversy thing. I bet they bring it up.
Well, I know they've pushed some of the DLC further down the line, so imagine they'll kind of detail the first big release. Maybe they make it not free, obviously, but like maybe they kind of change the pricing format to get people back in, some kind of change of the model where they can just get fans back on board. But yeah, I wonder.
Can you imagine if they were just like, our employees get, this percentage of those DLC?
That'd be dope.
So those people we tortured.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then that's another part of the conversation. It's like, you can't just, ideally, for sure you want to pay them more no matter what. But that doesn't fix the problem of everything else, like the demands from them in the first place. Yeah. But they should for sure at least be getting paid more. Yeah. Right off the bat.
I think that was one of the things, and maybe don't quote me on this, but I think Bungie was saying about when they kind of went independent from
from
Activision.
Yep.
It was that was, this all our DLC and stuff, like that's going directly into us making the game.
Gotcha.
So by supporting the game, you're supporting the people making the game, which is,
That's
you
good.
know, I don't know if that is true, and I am remembering that correctly. Then that makes you feel really good about buying,
Right.
you know, a skin for your character or whatever, or a dumb dance.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I do kind of. It's something that's entered my mind within the last 5-10 years, where it's like I do want to help support as much as my wallet can handle these teams. So by buying the DLC, by buying the title, and when it comes out or that kind of thing, I want to try and support them more.
Yeah.
Like that. That reminds me of the Mech Extermination game. I bought it. I haven't played it much. I just played like.
Oh,
the
you bought
first
it?
Intro, yeah.
Oh.
But just because we talked about it, it's like that's dope. I want to support him. It was like I don't know, $15 or something.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, there's just give them the money. But we got to play that game at some point.
Oh yeah.
I just dabbled in the first little intro level, and it's really cool. Really cool.
You pick a day.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it.
Okay.
It's super. It's cool.
Okay.
There's another. So a weird game. I wonder if you've seen. I feel like you probably have, but we didn't talk about. Have you seen Snake Bus? I thought about buying.
No.
Is it called Snake Bus?
Relive Snake
It's
as an
called Snake
ever-growing
Bus.
bus in Snaky Bus.
Snaky Bus?
I'm seeing Snaky Bus or Snake Bus.
It's
Either way.
pretty. I feel like this is sort of one of those. Is this game art kind of things?
Huh.
Because I mean, maybe that's just like the way they made the trailer.
Yeah.
To make it look really gorgeous, and it doesn't look like you're punished for, hitting your snake bus like you are in Snake.
Yeah. Whoa. So we're looking at footage of it.
Right.
It's physics based. You're a bus that. So is your tail growing? Is the bus growing in size the more you complete these trips like Snake?
I think so. Yeah. So you can.
What?
Isn't that gorgeous though?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like even without stylizing it, the graphics are just fun, and I imagine it being sort of that Katamari experience of like how big can I make this thing?
Yep.
Or sort of, Tony Hawk, what's the dumbest thing I can possibly do?
Yeah.
And can I make it? Like, look how
Mixed
long.
with
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Can I wrap myself around the Eiffel Tower? Like, what can I?
And the globe. Yeah. So, wait, did this already come out?
Yeah, I think I saw it on Steam, so I assume it came out.
You got to play this and tell me how it goes. I'm sure my PC can't run that.
It's kind of spendy.
Oh, is it?
It was like $25 or something like that. So I'm like, well, that's probably what they deserve. But
right.
at the same
It's always
time,
the internal struggle.
I don't know if I had that kind of cash.
Wait till you're drunk and then you roll up on Steam and then you're just like.
I don't do that anymore. Not since I was in high school. In high school, it was super easy, but.
Yeah, you'd always buy music off iTunes drunk, right? That was
I would. My first time dabbling was "You Can Dance If You Want" by Men in Hats, and I don't care who likes that song.
It's awesome.
It's a fucking terrible piece of music. It is garbage incarnate in your ear hole.
I like that. Doop 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 doop. I just love that. I feel like that little thing is playing in my mind all the time. That little intro. That's the code in my brain.
That's pretty funny. Can you imagine?
Like someone's telling you something very serious, and then you just cut to the person, and it's that boop 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 boop.
It'd be great if that was like your thinking noise. So like somebody asks you something like a serious question, and you're just like, "Let me think on that."
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, pull the plug. You're right.
Yeah.
Something very serious.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
I don't.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, Gavin, that's about it for the video games. And nothing really coming out this week of note that I think of. It's, for me, it's Rage 2, but I didn't really see anything else prominent coming up.
I hope you enjoy it.
We'll see. Yeah.
I don't think... It's not even the reviews. I don't necessarily think I can prioritize my money towards that game right now.
When you're balling like me, Gavin, you can just throw it
hope you
left and right.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I hope it puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, that's really it for the week. Gavin, let's put a feather in our cap, as they say, and let's end it. Were you upset with that response? Alrighty, Gavin.
Is that what they say?
That's what the kids say. If you skateboard by the smoke shops, that's what they're saying.
Isn't it like notch in your belt or?
I don't know. Gavin, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at drunk devs and literally don't look anywhere else because I don't update anything else.
Okay. Well, and I'm Fonzie Pants online. Alrighty, guys. That's it for this week. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Finger get.